Welcome, everybody, and thank you for attending. Welcome to the Authentic Leadership Tools for Maximizing Your Career Success with Carla Harris. I will now hand over to Carla Harris, Vice Chairman, Global Wealth Management and Senior Client Advisor at Morgan Stanley. Welcome, Carla. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ruth. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's such a privilege to spend some time with you talking about something that I love talking about. I like to call them Carla's Pearls, my hard-earned and hard-learned pearls after being a woman on Wall Street as of this summer for 34 years. And I'll tell you that one of the most important pearls that I acquired is the power of your authenticity. Nobody can be you the way that you can be you. And the reason I want to talk about this pearl this morning is that it is the great unlock, if you will. It is the secret sauce to building powerful relationships. And I know that my colleague and partner, Peter Aquaboa, will be talking to you a little bit later on about the power of relationships. And if you bring who you really are into that equation, it gives you the opportunity to own a relationship in a proprietary way. Your authenticity is your distinct competitive advantage because nobody can be you the way that you can be you. And the day that you received your current opportunities, somebody else didn't get the job because you were the best person for the job. So the last thing that any of us should ever do is to submerge that which is uniquely you. Anytime that you're trying to speak or behave in a way that is inauthentic to who you really are, that's when you create the competitive disadvantage because you're using valuable intellectual capacity that you could use to really hear what your client or your team is saying, yet is not articulating. Valuable intellectual capacity that you could use to demonstrate that quick twitch response, and valuable intellectual capacity that you could use to co-create with that person on the other side of the conversation. As quiet as it's kept, ladies and gentlemen, I have learned after 3 decades on the street that most people are not comfortable in their own skin. So when they see someone who is comfortable and confident in their skin, they will gravitate towards you. They absolutely want some of that. If your success, like mine, depends upon your ability to successfully penetrate relationships, the easiest way to penetrate a relationship is to bring your authentic self into that environment. If you bring your authentic self into that environment, people will trust you. And trust is at the heart of any successful relationship. I will share with you that this was a very interesting pearl for me to acquire because, like most people, when I walked into the environment, the first thing you do is look around and figure out what you must do, how you must behave in order to be successful. And the mistake that most of us make is that we start to emulate someone else and get away from our authentic self. And the danger is you look up after 5 years or 10 years and you don't really know who you are, or worse, you don't like who you are, and you've given away your competitive edge. It's certainly fine if you see something that you admire in someone else, or you realize that that thing is making them successful and is a requirement in your environment. Then the trick is to figure out how to own that attribute in a way that is authentic to you. As some of you may know, I'm a singer. I have done 5 sold-out concerts at Carnegie Hall, 2 sold-out concerts at the Apollo, just dropped my 4th album last holiday season, and released 2 music videos. But when I first started in this business, I didn't want anybody to talk about the fact that I was a singer. I wanted to be known as a no-nonsense, hard-driving, analytical, quantitative investment banker. I'm not here to sing and dance, boys. Let's not get it twisted. Didn't want anybody to talk about it until I saw the client's reaction. Because, of course, against all of my objections, my colleagues would take me into the room to pitch and say, oh, this is Carla Harris, our capital markets banker. What you really ought to know about Carla, she's an amazing singer, and she sung at Carnegie Hall and Radio City and the Apollo. And there we were, having the 15-minute meeting before the meeting. We had a technical problem. So let me go back to I think where I ended up, or where the internet went out, was when I was saying it was the meeting before the meeting. And Every time I go into a new environment now, I do bring Carla Harris, the singer, the writer, the mother, the golfer, the football fan, the prayer warrior, the investment manager. I bring all those Carlas into the room because it allows me to own the relationship in a proprietary way. Everybody says to me when I say, bring all of you into the environment because it's your competitive edge. Most people say to me, well, Carla, I can't bring all of me into the environment because they can't take the real me. So let me tell you the key to bringing all of you into any environment. Number one, ladies and gentlemen, know who you are. And I don't say that lightly because frankly, pre-COVID, we were all running around so much that we failed to check in with ourselves to say, who am I in 2019 relative to who I was in 2012? Do I still really like working on teams, or would I prefer to work by myself? Am I more analytical or quantitative than I used to be? So number one, know who you are. Number two, understand that we are all multifaceted. There is not just one you. There's an intellectual you, there's an argumentative you, there is a funny you, there is a pensive you. So understand that we are all multifaceted and embrace all those facets. And then the third key to bringing all of you into any environment is now you can relax. Now you can relax and walk into any room where you're having a conversation with one person, where you're in a boardroom with 15, or if you are standing on a stage in front of 1,000 people, you can literally, when you walk into the room, walk onto that stage, you can feel the energy if you're bringing all of you into the room because you're not being preoccupied with trying to speak or behave in a way that you think will be impressive. You will know in that moment what part of you, what facet of you can authentically connect with that audience and give you an opportunity to own that audience in that conversation in a way that no one else can. Ladies and gentlemen, your authenticity is your distinct competitive advantage. Nobody can be you the way that you can be you. And if you are sitting in a leadership seat today, or you aspire to sit in a leadership seat, it is even more imperative that you bring your authentic self into that environment. Because when you do, you motivate and inspire others to bring their authentic selves into that environment. You would be surprised how many people in your professional environment are not comfortable being who they really are. When we went into this shelter-in-place protocol about 18 months ago, my phone began ringing off the hook from people who are currently in the C-suite across all industries. And I was receiving questions like, how do I motivate and inspire my people when we're not in the same place? How do I keep people focused on the objectives at hand when I can't motivate them from the office? How do I react to what's going on in the streets of the United States on the back of racial inequities in that country and frankly around the world? We've never spoken about these things. I've never shared my sentiments. How do we communicate and engage with our people in this moment? And that's when I realized that there were a lot of people who were sitting in leadership seats today who have never brought their authentic selves into the environment. Yet the context that we find ourselves in right now, it demands authenticity, because that is how you're going to engage with your people and certainly be able to display the empathy that is demanded in the environment that we're in now. I started telling those leaders in April 2020, and frankly, I continue to say today, that in the environment that we're in now, if you want to be a powerful, impactful, influential leader, there are three things at a minimum you must do. Number one, you must be visible. Number two, you must be transparent. And number three, you must be empathetic. And ladies and gentlemen, the strand that runs through all three of those pearls, it is authenticity. You must be visible because whenever we are in uncertain environments, people crave stability. And being able to see you is a measure of that stability. That is authentic. They can't be with you, but they need to be able to see you. The second thing is that you must be transparent. And you must be transparent about what you know, what you don't know, and when you know it. Here's what we know about when we're going back into the office. Here are the three indicators that we're waiting for that will help us make that decision. Here are the roles that we know we will not need on the other side of the COVID-19 crisis. Here are the roles that we better have on the other side of the COVID-19 crisis. Transparency is a key ingredient to building trust. And as I said earlier, trust is at the heart of any successful relationship. And without the authenticity, you will not have a full 100% measure of trust. And that transparency is key. When your teams, your coworkers, your colleagues, your clients don't feel that you're being transparent, you undermine the authenticity that you're working so hard to bring into that relationship. And lastly, you must be empathetic. This is now not the time to behave as if what we've all gone through, the first truly globally shared experience, because there's not a person on the planet that hasn't been impacted in some way by COVID. Not a person on the planet that hasn't been impacted by witnessing what we've seen in the social unrest, frankly, around the world. So now is not the time to behave as if this has not impacted you. Now is the time to exhibit that empathy, to talk about how you as a leader might be managing through this environment. You'd be surprised how just that conversation will be the thing that will help you to engage with your colleagues and externally with your clients. But again, authenticity is at the heart of being able to exhibit that empathy. Now, I promised Trisha and the rest of the organizers that I would leave time for any Q&A. So I'm going to stop here and close by telling you that if you want to be a powerful, impactful, influential leader in today's environment and maximize your success in the seat that you're sitting in or the seat that you aspire to sit in, you must both expect and strategize to win. And I thank you, and I am looking forward to your questions. Well, here's one question, I think, from Bucky. This works well for those in leadership positions, but how could it be tweaked for those in entry level or middle management roles, particularly in industries where being your authentic self might stop you from reaching leadership roles? The key, Bucky, is, again, please make sure that you understand what is required for success in your environment, and that you know who you are with all the facets. And even as an entry-level person, once you understand what's valued in the role that you're in, maybe let's say you are a first-year associate, they value your analytical skills, your quantitative skills, your attention to detail. Those are the key success factors in that role. So you can bring all of you into that environment by making sure that you deliver on those things in an excellent way, but also be self-aware enough to understand the language that's being used in your environment so that authentically you can use that language so that people hear you the way you want them to hear you. But if you are delivering and you are comporting yourself in a way that and speaking in a way that they can embrace because it's their language, then you should have no problem bringing all of you into the environment, whether you are a runner or you like thinking about things a little bit longer or you like debating points. All those things that make you, you can bring into that environment, but you must also make sure that you are delivering on the things that are valued, whether you are a first-year associate all the way up to being a managing director. Compromising yourself too much early on will certainly make it difficult for you to be successful as you move through the organization. There's another question from Carol. How have you been able to balance building a successful home life and also a career? The key, Carol, I will tell you for me, is making sure that I have been maniacal about my calendar. I try to make sure that I use every single minute of the day. And I also make sure that I have a team of people at home and at work that can help support whatever endeavor that I'm doing. If I'm doing something within the walls of Morgan Stanley, I have an amazing team that is my responsibility to develop, but we are collectively working to get that done. At home, I certainly do have babysitters that help out when I am not with my girls, and I have young kids. I have a 6-year-old and an 18-month-old. But when I am with those girls, I am 100% mommy, 100% mommy. They have my full unadulterated attention. So I'm very thoughtful and intentional about how I use my time, and I'm thoughtful about being present. And I'm also extremely organized. And I learned early on that I don't have to do it in order to influence it. And if there are people around in your life that are willing to help you, let them help you. So here's another question. How has faith impacted your success or made it challenging in your journey? Oh, no question, Carol. Faith has been the key to my success. Make no mistake. If you read my first book, Expect to Win, my very last chapter is where I connect the dots between being a success and a warrior, a spiritual warrior. because it's really been the fact that I know whose I am, not who I am, that has made the difference. And when I have had tough moments in my career, I absolutely have continued to vibrantly use the Bible verses and the tools and the support system that I have at church to help me get clarity through that. Because when you get a tough time, it's really come to teach you something. So the question is, what is it that you're supposed to learn? And the faster you get the lesson, the faster you'll get through that journey. So it has been a critical part of my life, and not at all in contrast to being a banker. People would say spirituality, Wall Street, the two are mutually exclusive, and they absolutely are not. And that was part of my authenticity, even as a first-year associate. I would say I can work all day on Sunday except 9 to 11. That's his. So I'll come in early at 6 o'clock, and I'll be back at 11, 11:30, but 9 to 11, that's his. And I'll work all night if you need me to, but I'm going to church. And that authentically was from first-year associate all the way up now to somebody who's 34 years in this business. Okay, let's see the next question that I have here. Carla, have you found that being authentic has ever come into conflict with your progress at work? And I will tell you, no, it did not. And part of that was understanding, as I said earlier to Bucky, what the key success factors were in the roles. As a young associate, like I said, it was analytical skills, quantitative skills, attention to detail. Now, nobody cares whether or not I can build a model as a vice chairman and a managing director, but they do care if I'm commercial. They do care if I'm relationship oriented, and they do care if I can penetrate client thought. Those are now the key success factors for the seat that I'm sitting in now. And I will tell you that I brought authentic Carla in those early days and authentic Carla today. In the beginning, as I alluded to, I too thought that I had to conform. But interestingly enough, the feedback that I got when I was conforming was, oh, her presentations are rote. They don't really land with the client. And when I got that feedback, I thought, wow, I might as well just be Carla, because this is not working for me. This trying to do it the way Alan does it, the way Steve does it, the way Nancy does it, that's not working for me. So I might as well just be Carla. And I learned that anytime you can make a pitch, a conversation, you have achieved the sale. And that Carla would have given the presentations differently in a way that they resonated differently with clients and impactfully with clients. And that's why I'm so passionate about getting you all as professionals, young professionals or senior professionals, to put your competitive edge on display, and that's your authenticity. How are you able to combine both the music and professional brand and still remain authentic and true to your purpose? I will tell you, Oyen, that I never think of it as a brand. The word brand for me connotes something that you are creating versus something that is. So it wasn't like I was trying to craft a brand for Carla the singer or a brand for Carla the professional. I wanted to be known as an investment banker, as somebody who was really good, great with clients, could get clients to the right answer for them and trust Morgan Stanley that we were giving them the right advice. So I set out to be a great banker from that perspective. But I will tell you, as a singer, I also wanted to have impact. If I was singing a song, I wanted to make sure that you felt what I was singing, that it made you feel good, even if it didn't give you that emotion that I was singing about. So in pursuing excellence in both spaces, there wasn't sort of a concerted effort to try to separate the two at all. And, as many of my colleagues who've been around for a while at Morgan Stanley will tell you, I would sing happy birthday or a Christmas song at a closing dinner for a client. I would stand up in the middle of a trading floor and sing happy birthday to one of my colleagues. It is just the essence of who I am. And the fact that it was important and I meant it from the heart came through, whether it was a client or a colleague. So I haven't had trouble mixing the two, but I will make this delineation. In making the decision to be a successful investment banker, that meant I could not be a touring artist, because I was clearly saying that the Morgan Stanley decision was the dominant decision over the singer. But I found ways for the singer to be present by producing concerts at Carnegie Hall and the Apollo Theater and singing in church. So I found an outlet for the singer that did not mean being a touring professional, but that meant I could record, and I certainly hope I get a Grammy someday. How do I be confident when I'm the only minority employee in a conference room? I love this question. So let me put it to you like this. If you're the only person in the room that looks like you, you're the only person in the room that looks like you. It is a distinct advantage. And from this day forward, I never want you to think again that it's a liability. It is a major asset. You do not have to vie for attention. If you're the only person that looks like you in the room, then everyone knows that you clearly are extraordinary because you got into that room. It's not easy to get into that room. So, and I don't care if it's a team meeting in a conference room or it's a client meeting, you have the seat in the room. If you have a seat at the table, you have the responsibility to speak. Your intellect and your experience is highly valued in your organization, and you ought to own that power when you go in there. And so you should never feel like, oh, nobody else is like me. No, it's an advantage. What does being visible actually look like? For someone who may be an introvert, not on social media, the term visibility might make them nervous. So here's what I'll say. If you are really nervous about being around people and connecting with people, then your authentic decision would have you in a career where that is not a key success factor. That is not a requirement. So I would ask you, are you being authentic to go into a career where you are expected to speak, where you are expected to contribute, you are expected to connect? All of those things are part of your success equation in that environment. Well, if you are grossly uncomfortable with that, it's not an authentic decision to go after that career. However, if you are uncomfortable today, but you would like to evolve in being comfortable with connecting with people, you'd like to evolve in being able to speak up and contribute, then it is authentic to go into that environment so that you can learn. But that means you must be committed to practicing. That means you must be committed to developing along that line. But it's just practice. It's nothing else but getting yourself more comfortable. And I'll give you a little secret that hopefully will help. When you are having trepidation about connecting with somebody, please know they're nervous about connecting with you. I have found that there are so many people who are uncomfortable connecting with people, and they're sitting there waiting for you to say something, and you're thinking, wow, that person doesn't seem approachable. Guess what? They're scared. They're scared too. So go ahead, take the first step. What was the biggest challenge that you faced, and how did it shape you to be the woman you are today? I'll tell you, Grace, the biggest challenge was, frankly, I didn't know some of the pearls. I've only shared one pearl with you all today, the authenticity pearl, because it is key to your theme around collaboration, and collaboration is key. You will not maximize your success on your own. You're going to need somebody else's intellect, experience, and access to relationships. So I wanted to talk about authenticity. But I'll tell you, Grace, there were other things that I didn't know that were key to my success, like perception is the co-pilot to reality. How people perceive you will directly impact how they deal with you. But more importantly, you have the power to teach people how to think about you. I didn't understand the power of taking risks, and that there are very few things in life that are irreparable. So you try it, you make a mistake. But guess what? Mistakes always bring you gifts. Failure always brings you gifts, and the gifts are called experiences. Now you know how to do it better. Now you know how to do it differently. Now you know how to do it successfully. But I was certainly taught that I didn't have as many chances as other people, so be very careful. And I do think that that negatively impacts your risk profile. And once you realize that there are very few things that you can't fix, very few things that you can't redo, then you will take risks all day long. So those were some of the things that I didn't know that made it really difficult in those early days. Thank you, guys. It's been my honor to spend some time with you.